The morning sun rose over Earth like it had done for billions of years. Nothing about this day seemed different. In space, high above the planet's moon, New Hope Station floated quietly in its orbit. Inside the massive structure, 847 children were starting their day. Dr. Lisa Morgan walked through the station's main corridor. Her footsteps echoed softly against the metal floors. She had been running this place for 7 years now. Every child here had lost someone. Parents killed in wars. Families destroyed by raids. These kids had nowhere else to go. So she made sure they had everything they needed here. She stopped at classroom window and watched the younger children. They sat in a circle, listening to their teacher read a story about ancient Earth. Their faces showed wonder and curiosity. Lisa smiled. This was why she did this job. These children deserved a future. Jake Sullivan sat in the computer lab with his friends. He was 15 years old and good with technology. Really good. His fingers moved quickly across the keyboard as he worked on a school project. His parents had died 6 years ago, defending a colony from space raiders. He still remembered that day clearly. Too clearly. His best friend punched his shoulder lightly. Stop thinking about sad stuff. We need to finish this ship design. Before lunch, Jake nodded and focused back on his work. He wanted to join Earth's defense fleet when he turned 18. He wanted to protect people the way his parents had tried to protect others. In another part of the station, Commander Daniel Hayes unpacked boxes of supplies. He came here every month to volunteer. Most people did not know about these visits. He kept them private. His younger sister had died in the colony wars 10 years ago. She had been only 12. Working with these kids helped him deal with that pain. A small girl ran up to him. She could not have been more than 6 years old. "Commander Hayes, did you bring the chocolate again?" He laughed and pulled out a small box. "I would never forget. But you have to promise me you will eat your vegetables at lunch first." The girl nodded seriously and ran off to tell her friends. Earth had joined something called the Galactic Coalition 50 years ago. It was a group of 43 different alien species. They all agreed to follow certain rules. No big wars. No aggressive expansion. Everyone stayed peaceful and followed the laws. Humanity had followed these rules carefully. They wanted to be good members of the galactic community. They built trust with other species. They showed they could be peaceful. Far away from Earth, in a different part of space, Ambassador Claire Bennett sat in her office. She had just received a message from an alien race called the Krell. They were insect-like creatures with a powerful military. The message was simple and direct. "Give us 3 of your colony systems or face consequences." Claire read the message 3 times. Her hands shook slightly. The Krell had been getting more aggressive lately. They were expanding their territory and pushing against human space, but they had never directly threatened humanity before. She sent the message to Earth's government immediately. Within hours, the response came back. Earth would not surrender any colonies. The Galactic Coalition laws protected them. The Krell would not dare attack a coalition member. Claire hoped they were right. Back on New Hope Station, lunchtime arrived. The cafeteria filled with noise and laughter. Children talked about their classes and their dreams. Some wanted to be scientists. Others wanted to be pilots or engineers. A few wanted to be teachers, like Dr. Morgan. Lisa sat with a group of older students. They asked her questions about college and careers. She answered each one patiently. She loved these conversations. These kids had been through terrible things, but they still dreamed about the future. Commander Hayes joined them at the table. The kids liked him. He told good stories about space and the defense fleet. He never talked down to them or treated them like babies. "Will you come back next month?" one boy asked. Hayes smiled. "I always do. You cannot get rid of me that easily." Nobody knew that above them, 12 Krell warships had just appeared. They dropped out of hyperspace suddenly, their weapons already charging. The station's basic sensors picked them up immediately. Alarms started blaring throughout New Hope Station. Lisa jumped to her feet. The children looked confused and scared. Hayes grabbed his communicator and called the station's bridge. "What is happening?" The answer came back, panicked. "Krell warships. 12 of them. They are not responding to our hails. Commander, they are powering weapons." Time seemed to slow down. Hayes looked at the children around him. Their frightened faces. Their innocent eyes. He had seconds to make decisions. "Everyone move. Now. Get to the escape pods," Lisa shouted. Her voice cut through the panic. She had been a combat medic before becoming a teacher. Training kicked in automatically. The children started running. Teachers and staff directed them toward the emergency evacuation routes. Hayes sprinted toward the bridge, trying to help coordinate the evacuation. The first weapons blast hit the station's outer ring. The explosion shook everything. Lights flickered. Children screamed. More blasts followed. The Krell were not warning them or demanding surrender. They were simply trying to destroy the station. Jake helped push younger kids toward an escape pod. His heart pounded in his chest. This could not be happening. Not here. Not to them. They were children. They were protected by galactic law. Another explosion. This one closer. Jake stumbled and fell. A small boy helped him up. They kept moving. Lisa reached a group of 40 children trapped in a sealed corridor. Fire blocked their path to the escape pods. She worked frantically to open an emergency door. Her hands bled from the hot metal. But she did not stop. She got the door open. "Go! Run!" she screamed at them. The children poured through. Lisa stayed behind to make sure everyone got out. She was sealing the bulkhead when another blast hit. The explosion threw her backward. The door sealed shut with her, on the wrong side. Commander Hayes reached an escape pod and started loading children inside. 16 kids packed in tight. He sealed the door and launched it. Then, he ran for another pod. The Krell targeted the escape pods as they launched. Their weapons tracked the small vessels and destroyed them one by one. Hayes watched in horror as the pods exploded. Children he had just saved died in flashes of light. Jake's pod launched into space. Through the small window, he watched New Hope Station break apart. Pieces of it drifted in all directions. He saw other pods trying to escape. Most of them exploded. He pressed his face against the window and cried. The attack lasted 18 minutes. When it ended, New Hope Station was gone. The Krell ships jumped back into hyperspace without sending any messages or explanations. They simply left. Earth defense ships arrived 30 minutes later. They found debris and bodies floating in space. They found 14 children alive in damaged escape pods. They found 3 staff members. Everyone else was dead. Commander Hayes floated in space, his suit torn and his body broken. A rescue ship spotted him and pulled him aboard. He was barely alive. On Earth, people watched the news footage in shock. Every screen showed the same images: the destroyed station, the dead children, the escape pods that had been hunted down and killed. The galaxy had just learned something important about humanity. They learned what happened when you killed human children. They learned that some wounds could never heal with words. They were about to learn what human vengeance looked like. The Galactic Coalition met 3 days after the attack. Representatives from 43 different species gathered in the Great Council chamber. They talked for hours. They debated and argued. Finally, they reached a decision. The Krell attack was condemned. Economic sanctions would be placed on the Krell sovereignty. A tribunal would be held in 6 months to determine proper punishment. Ambassador Claire Bennett listened to this decision. Her face remained calm, but inside, she felt sick. 6 months. They wanted Earth to wait 6 months for justice. She returned to Earth and met with the government leaders. President Helen Foster sat at the head of the table. Next to her was Secretary of Defense, Linda Carter. Other military and civilian leaders filled the room. They killed over 1,000 of our people, Linda said. Her voice was quiet but hard. Most of them were children. And the galaxy wants us to wait half a year for a trial? The coalition has procedures, Claire said. Laws that everyone follows. If we break those laws, we become outlaws. What good are laws that do not protect children? President Foster asked. Nobody had a good answer to that question. On Earth, people filled the streets. They protested outside coalition embassy buildings. They carried pictures of the dead children. They chanted for justice. Some wanted war. Others just wanted someone to care that their children had been murdered. Mars Colony sent a message. Europa Station sent another. All the human settlements across space said the same thing. If the coalition would not act, humanity had to act alone. Commander Daniel Hayes woke up in a hospital bed. His body hurt everywhere. Doctors had put him back together piece by piece. They said he was lucky to be alive. He did not feel lucky. A nurse brought him a tablet computer. The other survivors are asking for you, she said. Hayes opened the video connection. 14 faces looked back at him. 14 children who had survived when 833 others had died. They looked tired and scared. They looked like they had seen the end of the world. Jake Sullivan spoke first. Commander Hayes, they are saying the galaxy will punish the Krell. Is that true? Hayes wanted to lie. He wanted to tell them everything would be fine. 6 months, one girl said. They killed everyone, and they get 6 months? Hayes nodded slowly. I know. It is not fair. But the coalition has rules about these things. Jake stared at the screen. His eyes looked older than 15. They killed my friends. They hunted us down like animals. And the galaxy just wants to talk about it. Those words spread across Earth within hours. News networks played the clip again and again. Jake's young voice saying what everyone felt. The galaxy just wants to talk about it. President Foster made a decision that night. She called a secret meeting with only her most trusted advisors. Linda Carter came. So did the head of intelligence, Director Andrew Cole, the head of weapons development, Dr. Samuel Chen, a few others. We will not break coalition law openly, the president said. But if the Krell will not face real justice, they will face something else. We will give them consequences they cannot ignore. She activated something called Protocol Phoenix. It was a military program that had been running in secret for 10 years. Hidden shipyards beyond where the coalition could monitor. Warships disguised as commercial vessels. Weapons technology that pushed the limits of human engineering. Linda Carter pulled up files on a secure screen. We have 300 warships ready. They are smaller than coalition dreadnoughts, but faster and more advanced. We have been building them in case humanity ever needed to defend itself, without coalition help. We need them now, President Foster said. Volunteers filled the recruitment centers within days. Soldiers and civilians both signed up for a classified mission. They only knew it involved the Krell. That was enough for them. Captain Ryan Cooper took command of a special task force. They called it Shadow Fleet. His daughter had died on New Hope Station. She had been 8 years old and loved to draw pictures of stars. He still carried one of her drawings in his pocket. He stood before his new crew. 300 ships worth of human warriors. All of them had lost someone to the Krell. They were professionals. They were also people filled with grief and rage. We are going to show the Krell what happens when you murder our children, Cooper said. We are going to show the entire galaxy who humanity really is when you push us too far. The crew responded with grim determination. Dr. Samuel Chen worked day and night in his laboratory. His son had died on New Hope Station. The boy had been 13 and wanted to be a scientist like his father. Now Chen poured all his grief into creating weapons. He developed something called the Hammer. It was a kinetic bombardment system that could bypass enemy shields. It used quantum-locked projectiles that moved faster than anything the galaxy had seen before, perfect for destroying fixed military targets. Commander Hayes recovered slowly. His body healed, but his mind stayed trapped in those 18 minutes. He saw the explosions every time he closed his eyes. He heard the children screaming in his dreams. The hospital released him after 6 weeks. He went immediately to where the survivors were staying. Jake and the 13 others lived in a special facility with counselors and teachers. They were learning to deal with what had happened to them. Hayes found Jake sitting alone, staring out a window at the moon. Debris from New Hope Station still floated up there. You could see it at night like a cloud of stars. "I have been doing some research," Jake said without turning around. "I hacked into some military files. I know what is really happening." Hayes should have been angry. Instead, he sat down next to the boy. "What did you find?" "Protocol Phoenix, Shadow Fleet. You are preparing for war." "Yes," Hayes said simply. "I want to help." Jake said, "You are 15 years old. I was 15 when they killed my friends. I was 15 when I watched escape pods explode. Age does not matter anymore." Hayes looked at Jake's reflection in the window. The boy was right. The attack had taken away his childhood. Nothing could give that back. "What can you do?" Hayes asked. "I am good with computers. Really good. I can write code that disrupts enemy systems. I can hack their communications. I can help." Hayes made a decision that would break several regulations. "I will talk to the right people. But if you do this, there is no going back. You will be part of something that might get you killed." "They already tried to kill me once," Jake said. "This time, I will be ready." 3 months passed. The Coalition's tribunal date got closer. The Krell ignored every message and summons. They clearly did not care about galactic law or consequences. Earth continued to look patient and peaceful on the outside. Inside, they prepared for war. Shadow Fleet trained in the Kuiper Belt, far from where anyone could see them. They practiced attack formations and weapons coordination. Captain Cooper drove them hard. Every simulation had to be perfect. They would only get one chance at this. Lieutenant Maya Foster led a fighter squadron. Her twin brother had died on New Hope Station. She flew with his picture taped to her control panel. Her pilots were the best humanity had. They moved like they were one mind controlling 20 ships. Chief Engineer Carlos Martinez designed new engines for the fleet. His niece had died in the attack. He made these ships faster than anything in Coalition space. If the Krell tried to run, they would not escape. Jake joined the Cyber Warfare Division. Commander Patricia Green ran that section. Her daughter had been Jake's friend on New Hope Station. She saw Jake's potential immediately and became his teacher. Jake learned how to break into alien computer systems. He learned how to shut down weapons and communications. He learned how to make the enemy blind and helpless. He worked 18 hours every day, driven by memories of friends who would never grow up. Earth's intelligence network sent agents into Krell territory. They used alien contacts and mercenaries. They mapped every military base, every shipyard, every fleet position. Director Andrew Cole coordinated everything from Earth. The intelligence, flowing back, painted a clear picture. The Krell were preparing more attacks. They thought humanity was weak. They thought humans would wait forever for the Coalition to act. They were planning to hit more colonies and break human spirit completely. They were wrong about everything. 6 months after New Hope Station died, the Coalition Tribunal finally met. The Krell sent no representatives. After 3 days, the Council issued their judgment. Strong condemnation. Increased sanctions. Demands for the Krell to appear before them. That was it. The penalty for murdering 1,043 humans was a diplomatic scolding. Ambassador Bennett returned to Earth. She went straight to President Foster's office and put her resignation letter on the desk. "I have spent 20 years building relationships with the galaxy. Today I learned those relationships mean nothing. The Coalition will not protect us. Maybe it is time we protected ourselves." President Foster did not accept the resignation. "I need you to keep up appearances," Make them think we are still playing by their rules. Can you do that? Claire looked at the president for a long moment. Then she nodded. What are we really doing? We are teaching the galaxy a lesson they will never forget. Shadow Fleet, gathered in the darkness, beyond Neptune. 300 warships floated in the cold void, their running lights dimmed to almost nothing. Inside each ship, human crews prepared for what came next. Captain Ryan Cooper stood on the bridge of the ESS Vengeance. His crew worked around him with quiet efficiency. They had trained for months. Now the time had come to use that training. He pulled his daughter's drawing from his pocket. A simple picture of Earth and stars, done in crayon by an 8-year-old girl who would never grow older. He looked at it for a moment, then carefully put it back. All ships report ready status, his first officer said. Cooper nodded. Good. Send the final briefing to all commanders. The briefing outlined Operation Orphan's Fury. Shadow Fleet would strike 12 Krell military installations at the same time. The goal was to cripple the Krell fleet before they could organize a defense. Hit hard, hit fast, and show no mercy to military targets. Commander Daniel Hayes commanded the ESS Retribution. His ship was built for close combat, designed to get in close, where bigger enemy ships could not bring their weapons to bear effectively. His crew was experienced and angry. They all had personal reasons to be here. A young ensign approached Hayes on the bridge. Sir, we are receiving the go signal. Hayes looked at the view screen showing the Krell sector of space. Set course for target Omega. Maximum speed. Lieutenant Maya Foster sat in her fighter cockpit. Around her, 19 other pilots prepared for launch. They were attached to the ESS Vengeance and would provide fast attack support during the operation. She touched the picture of her twin brother taped to her console. They had been identical twins. Impossible to tell apart. When he died, it felt like half of her died too. She flew now for both of them. All fighters. This is Foster. Remember your training. Stay tight. Watch each other's backs. And make them pay for what they did. 20 voices confirmed they were ready. Jake Sullivan sat in the Cyber Warfare Center of the ESS Vengeance. Screens surrounded him, showing Krell network architecture and communication protocols. He had spent months learning how these systems worked. Now he would tear them apart. Commander Patricia Green stood behind him. You sure you are ready for this, Jake? Ready. Ready. He nodded without taking his eyes off his screens. I have been ready since the day they killed my friends. Patricia put a hand on his shoulder. Her daughter had been one of those friends. They shared the same grief and the same need for justice. The fleet jumped to hyperspace. The journey to Krell space would take 6 hours. 6 hours to think about what they were about to do. 6 hours to remember why they were doing it. In those 6 hours, some crew members slept. Others wrote letters to family. Some prayed. Many just sat quietly with their thoughts. Captain Cooper recorded a message. It would be broadcast to the Krell sovereignty when the attack began. He spoke calmly, without emotion, letting his words carry the weight. 6 months ago, you murdered 1,043 humans. Most of them were children. You did this because you thought we were weak. You thought galactic law would protect you from consequences. You were wrong on both counts. We are not weak. We are human. And we protect our own. This is not the coalition responding to your crime. This is humanity. And we are going to show you what that means. The message was loaded and ready to transmit. Shadow Fleet dropped out of hyperspace in 12 different star systems simultaneously. The Krell had no warning. Their sensors suddenly showed human warships where empty space had been seconds before. Strike Group Alpha, led by Captain Cooper, appeared above Krell Military Station Theta 7. It was a major repair and resupply depot for the Krell Third Fleet. Cooper's ships moved into attack formation immediately. Launch fighters. All weapons free. Jake, shut them down. Maya Foster and her squadron launched from the Vengeance. They streaked toward the station like angry wasps. Behind them, the larger ships opened fire with railguns and missile batteries. Jake's fingers flew across his keyboard. He sent intrusion programs into the Krell communication network. Within seconds, the station's ability to call for help died. Then he attacked their targeting systems. Krell weapons started firing at wrong coordinates, missing the human ships completely. The Krell tried to adapt. Their computer technicians worked frantically to counter the human cyber attack. But Jake was faster. Every time they closed one hole, he opened 3 more. He had learned from the best and was driven by grief that gave him focus beyond his years. Strike Group Delta, commanded by Hayes, hit Krell Shipyard Complex Omega. This was where the Krell built their heavy cruisers. Destroying it would cripple their ability to replace losses. The ESS Retribution led the attack, charging straight at the shipyard's defensive platforms. Krell weapons fired. Hayes' ship dodged and weaved, using its superior maneuverability. They got in close where the big platforms could not track them properly. "Fire all forward batteries," Hayes ordered. Railgun shots tore through the platform's armor. Secondary explosions bloomed across its surface. The platform went dark and drifted dead in space. Around the shipyard, other human ships engaged Krell defenders. The battle was fierce, but one-sided. Human technology proved superior. Human determination proved unbreakable. At every target, the story was the same. The Krell were caught unprepared. They had believed humans would follow coalition law and wait for diplomatic solutions. They had believed wrong. The attacks lasted 8 hours. When they ended, all 12 targets were destroyed. Krell casualties numbered over 40,000 military personnel. Human losses were 127 dead and 343 wounded. The galaxy watched in shock. News of the attacks spread fast. Humanity, the peaceful species that always followed the rules, had launched a massive military operation. The same humans who waited patiently for coalition justice had decided to make their own justice. The Krell government demanded the coalition intervene. They called the human attack unprovoked aggression. They claimed to be the victims. Ambassador Bennett responded from Earth. Her words were broadcast across the entire galaxy. The Krell murdered our children. They destroyed a neutral station protected by galactic law. They hunted down escape pods full of kids. For 6 months, we waited for your justice. We followed your laws. We believed in your system, and you did nothing. Today, humanity stopped waiting. We will defend ourselves. We will punish those who harm us, and we will not apologize for surviving in a galaxy that clearly does not value human life. The Coalition Council met in emergency session. Some species supported Earth. They said the humans were justified in defending themselves. Others condemned Earth's actions as barbaric and illegal. The Council fractured along ideological lines. While they argued, Shadow Fleet did not stop. Captain Cooper gathered his commanders for the next phase. The Krell are mobilizing their remaining forces. Intelligence says they are gathering their 3rd fleet to strike back at us. We are not going to wait for them to attack. We are taking the fight to them. The fleet moved deeper into Krell territory. They hit supply depots, communication relays, and military outposts. Every target was military. Civilian areas were carefully avoided. Humanity was at war, but they remained human. They did not wage war on innocents. The Krell tried to respond. Their military commanders worked to organize a defense, but their communications were compromised. Their supply lines disrupted. Their coordination shattered. Jake and the cyber warfare teams kept them blind and confused. After 2 weeks of continuous operations, the Krell finally assembled their 3rd fleet. 90 heavy cruisers and support vessels gathered at a staging point called Epsilon Reach. It was the largest Krell military force ever assembled in one location. War Master Zathran commanded the fleet. He was the same Krell officer who had ordered the attack on New Hope Station. He broadcast a message to Shadow Fleet. You humans think you are warriors. You are nothing but prey pretending to be predators. Come to Epsilon Reach. Come and die. Captain Cooper received the message. He showed it to his senior officers. Then he smiled grimly. He wants us to come to him. Let us not disappoint him. All ships, set course for Epsilon Reach. Maximum speed. Commander Hayes looked concerned. Sir, the Krell fleet outnumbers us. This could be a trap. Probably is. Cooper agreed. But they have been hunting our children and thinking we are weak. Time to show them the truth. We are not prey. We are humans. And we do not run from bullies. Shadow Fleet jumped to hyperspace, heading straight for the enemy. Jake prepared his systems for what would be the largest battle of his life. He checked and rechecked his programs. Everything had to work perfectly. Patricia Green sat next to him. Scared? Yes, Jake admitted. But more angry than scared, she nodded. Good. Use that anger. Focus it. Make it a weapon. Good. 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 Maya Foster and her squadron performed final checks on their fighters. They knew this battle would be different from the earlier attacks. The Krell were ready for them now. This would not be easy, but easy did not matter. What mattered was making the Krell pay for what they had done. The fleet emerged from hyperspace at Epsilon Reach. The Krell Third Fleet waited for them. Arrayed in battle formation. 90 massive ships against 300 smaller human vessels. The Krell expected the humans to take defensive positions. Instead, Captain Cooper gave a simple order. All ships, attack formation. Take us in. Shadow Fleet charged straight at the enemy. The Battle of Epsilon Reach had begun. The Krell Third Fleet opened fire first. Massive energy weapons lit up the darkness of space. The beams were meant to cut through heavy armor and destroy large ships. But Shadow Fleet was not built for slugging matches. Captain Cooper's ships scattered into attack formations. Human frigates moved like sharks, fast and aggressive. They dodged the heavy Krell fire and closed the distance rapidly. The Krell had expected humans to fight like the Coalition did, with big, slow ships trading fire at long range. Humans fought differently. Maya Foster led her fighter squadron into the chaos. 20 small craft weaving between capital ships. They targeted the Krell command ships first, hitting communication arrays and sensor clusters. Make the enemy blind. Make them unable to coordinate. Fox 1, break left. Fox 3, you have 2 hostiles on your tail. Fox 7, help him out. Her squadron moved as one unit. They had trained together for months and knew each other's flying styles perfectly. When Krell fighters tried to intercept them, they found themselves outmaneuvered and outgunned. Jake's cyber attack hit the Krell fleet like a digital hurricane. He had spent weeks learning their systems. Now he tore through their network security with programs designed specifically for this moment. Krell targeting computers started glitching. Their weapons fired at empty space. Their sensors showed phantom human ships that did not exist. I am in their command network, Jake reported to Captain Cooper. Their fleet coordination is falling apart. Keep them blind, Cooper ordered. All ships, concentrate fire on their command cruisers. Cut off the head, and the body dies. The ESS Vengeance and ESS Retribution led the main assault. They charged straight at the Krell flagship, a massive dreadnought called the Eternal Glory. It was twice the size of any human ship and carried enough weapons to destroy a small moon. Commander Hayes brought the Retribution in close, using the tactic his ship was designed for. The big Krell dreadnought tried to target him, but its weapons were too large and slow. Hayes stayed in close where the giant ship could not bring its main guns to bear. Target their engine sections. Railguns, continuous fire. The Retribution's weapons hammered the Eternal Glory's engines. Armor plates cracked and broke. Internal explosions rippled through the Krell ship's stern section. Captain Cooper brought the Vengeance alongside. Launch boarding teams. We want their commander alive. The battle raged for 6 hours. Human ships darted in and out of the Krell formation, inflicting damage and avoiding the worst of the return fire. The Krell tried to adapt, but Jake kept their systems confused and their coordination broken. When Krell fighters launched, Maya's squadron was waiting. The dogfights were intense and deadly. Fox 6 was hit and spiraled away damaged. Fox 12 took a direct hit and exploded, but the survivors kept fighting, kept pressing the attack. Maya herself shot down 4 Krell fighters. Each time, she thought of her brother. Each time, the grief and anger gave her focus. The Krell fleet started to break. Their command ships were burning. Their coordination was gone. Individual captains tried to fight on their own, but they were picked apart by coordinated human attacks. War Master Zathran watched his fleet die from the bridge of the eternal glory. His ship was crippled. Engines dead. Weapons offline. Human boarding pods attached to his hull like parasites. He could hear fighting in the corridors below as human marines fought their way toward the bridge. The bridge doors exploded inward. Human soldiers poured through, weapons ready. Commander Hayes led them, his face hard and cold. Zathran stood tall, trying to maintain dignity. You humans are savages. You pretend to be civilized, but you are animals. Hayes walked right up to the Krell commander. You killed our children because you thought we were weak. You thought galactic law would protect you. You were wrong about everything. The human marines took Zathran into custody. Around them, the battle was ending. The Krell, Third Fleet, was destroyed. Only a handful of ships managed to escape, jumping to hyperspace with their drives barely functional. Human casualties were significant. 27 ships destroyed. Over 800 crew members dead. Twice that many wounded. But they had won. The largest Krell fleet ever assembled was broken. Captain Cooper broadcast a message across all channels. This is the human fleet to all Krell forces. Your third fleet is destroyed. Your War Master is our prisoner. We are coming for your homeworld next. You can surrender now and face trial for your crimes. Or you can keep fighting and watch us dismantle everything you have built. Choose wisely. The message was received across Krell space. It was also received by the Galactic Coalition. The Council met again in emergency session. The galaxy watched as everything changed. Some Coalition species spoke in favor of Earth. The Krell had broken galactic law first by attacking New Hope Station. Earth was simply defending itself. Others argued that Earth's response was too extreme, too violent. Ambassador Bennett addressed the Council directly. Her speech was broadcast across the entire galaxy. You call us violent. You say we have gone too far. But where were you when our children died? Where was your justice? We followed your laws for 6 months. We waited patiently while you deliberated. And the Krell ignored everything. They planned more attacks. They thought we were too weak to stop them. Today, they learned the truth. Humanity will cooperate with the galaxy. We will follow reasonable laws. But we will not be victims. We will not watch our people die while committees debate. Never again. The speech resonated with smaller species in the Coalition. They had similar fears. What would happen if a larger power attacked them? Would the Coalition really protect them? Or would they be told to wait patiently for justice that never came? Shadowfleet did not wait for the Council to decide. They pushed deeper into Krell territory. They hit military installations, shipyards, and supply depots. Every attack was precise. Every target was military. 0 civilian casualties. Secretary of Defense Linda Carter coordinated with Earth's main fleet. While Shadow Fleet operated in Krell space, the Defense Fleet protected human colonies. The Krell were desperate now and might try one final strike at civilian targets. Admiral James Porter commanded Earth's Defense Fleet. When Krell ships tried to raid the Outer Reach colonies, he was ready. His fleet intercepted them in deep space. The battle lasted 3 days and was brutal. Human losses were heavy, but Krell losses were catastrophic. When it ended, the Krell military was effectively destroyed as a fighting force. Jake sat at his station, exhausted. He had been working for days with minimal sleep. His systems had disrupted hundreds of Krell ships. He had helped win battles that saved lives, but he still saw his friends dying every time he closed his eyes. Commander Patricia Green found him asleep at his console. She covered him with a blanket and let him rest. The boy had done more than anyone could have expected. He deserved peace. However brief, Shadow Fleet reached the edge of the Krell home system. Their scouts reported heavy defenses around the Krell homeworld. Orbital platforms, defensive satellites, and what remained of their fleet. Captain Cooper called a meeting of all ship commanders. The holographic conference room filled with faces, tired faces, determined faces. Faces of people who had lost everything but refused to give up. "We stand at the doorstep of the Krell homeworld," Cooper said. "We could destroy their defenses. We could bombard their cities. We could do to them what they did to us. But we will not. Because we are not like them. We are human. We do not wage war on children." He paused and looked at each commander. "Instead, we are going to give them one final chance. Surrender now. Face trial for the murder of our people. Let justice be served. Or we will systematically destroy every military asset they have left until they have no choice." Commander Hayes spoke up. "And if they refuse, then we show them that human patience has limits, but human determination does not." The message was sent to the Krell government. It was also sent to the Galactic Coalition and broadcast across known space. Everyone would see what happened next. For 48 hours, the Krell debated. Their military was broken. Their economy was in ruins. Their people were terrified. But pride is a powerful thing. Then a new voice joined the conversation. Krell civilians, tired of war and death, protested in their streets. They demanded their government surrender. They did not want to die for the pride of leaders who had started a war they could not win. The Krell government collapsed. A new leadership emerged, civilians who wanted peace. They agreed to Earth's terms. Total surrender, war crimes, trials, reparations to victims' families, dismantling of most of their military. Coalition. Observers. To ensure compliance, War Master Zathran and 47 other Krell officers were turned over to stand trial. The officer who had ordered the attack on New Hope Station would finally face justice. Shadow Fleet held position at the edge of Krell space, making sure the surrender was honored. 3 months after Operation Orphan's Fury began, it was over. Captain Cooper stood on the bridge of the Vengeance and pulled out his daughter's drawing one more time. He looked at it for a long moment. "We did it, sweetheart," he whispered. "They will never hurt another child. I promise." Around him, his crew began the long journey home. They had won the war. Now, they had to learn to live with what they had done to win it. Shadow Fleet returned to Earth 3 months after they had left. The journey home was quiet. Crews had time to think about what they had done. They had killed thousands of Krell soldiers. They had destroyed ships and stations. They had waged war across an entire sector of space. Some felt proud. Others felt sick. Most felt both. Captain Ryan Cooper stood at the viewport of the ESS Vengeance as Earth came into view. That blue world had sent them out to seek vengeance. Now they were coming back changed. War changes everyone who experiences it. Commander Daniel Hayes visited the medical bay where wounded crew members recovered. He talked to each person, thanking them for their service. Some had lost limbs. Others had burns that would scar forever. All of them had paid a price for humanity's fury. Jake Sullivan packed his belongings in his small quarters. He was 15 when he left Earth. Now, 3 months later, he felt decades older. He had helped disable hundreds of enemy ships. His code had saved countless human lives. But he still saw his friends from New Hope Station. In his dreams, Shadow Fleet entered Earth's orbit to mixed reactions. Millions of people celebrated. They threw parades and held ceremonies. These warriors had avenged the murdered children. They had shown the galaxy that humanity would not be pushed around. But millions of others protested. They said the war was too brutal, too violent. They worried that humanity had become the monsters they were fighting against. The debate raged across every news network and social media platform. President Helen Foster gave a speech from the Capitol 3 months ago. "We sent our warriors to seek justice for murdered children. Today they return victorious, but not unchanged. War is never clean. It is never simple. But when our children are killed and the galaxy does nothing, we must act. We did act. And now the Krell know, as does the entire galaxy, that humanity will protect its own." The Galactic Coalition held a formal trial for War Master Zathran and the 47 other Krell officers. The trial took place on a neutral station, with representatives from multiple species serving as judges. Evidence was presented over 2 weeks. Sensor logs from the attack. Communications showing it was planned and deliberate. Testimony from the survivors. Jake Sullivan testified on the 5th day. He wore his Space Force cadet uniform and walked to the witness stand with steady steps. The gallery was packed with beings from across the galaxy. "Tell us what happened on New Hope Station," the lead judge requested. Jake spoke calmly, though his hands gripped the podium tightly. He described the normal morning, the classes and friends, then the alarms and explosions, the desperate race to escape pods, watching his friends die as Krell weapons hunted them down. "They did not give us a chance to surrender," Jake said. "They did not warn us or demand anything. They just killed us, children who had already lost their families once. The Krell took everything from us a second time." The gallery was completely silent. When Jake finished, he looked directly at War Master Zathran. The Krell commander stared back with compound eyes that showed nothing. "You thought we were weak," Jake said quietly. "You were wrong." The trial continued for another week. The Krell officers offered no real defense. They claimed they were following orders. They said the attack was necessary to show humanity its place in the galaxy. The judges deliberated for 3 days. Then they returned, with verdicts. Guilty on all counts. Crimes against sentient beings. Targeting civilians. Violating galactic law. War Master Zathran was sentenced to life imprisonment. Other officers received sentences ranging from 20 years to execution. The harshest punishments went to those who had specifically targeted the escape pods. When the sentences were announced, some in the gallery cheered. Others remained silent. Justice had been served, but it could not bring back the dead. The Galactic Coalition faced its own crisis. Earth's actions had exposed weaknesses in the entire system. The Council had failed to protect its members. Their laws meant nothing without enforcement. After months of heated debate, reforms were passed. New protocols for responding to attacks on member species. Rapid response forces that could act quickly. Clear guidelines for when military action was justified. Ambassador Claire Bennett worked tirelessly to rebuild Earth's relationships while maintaining humanity's newfound position. She was honest about what had happened. "We broke your laws," she told the Council. "We did not wait for your permission. We will not apologize for surviving, but we are willing to work with you to build a better system, one that actually protects its members instead of just debating their deaths." Many species respected that honesty. They began approaching Earth about military alliances and cooperation. Others remained wary, worried about human military power. Earth's status changed dramatically. No longer the weak newcomer trying to fit in. Now, they were recognized as a military power that would cooperate, but not be pushed around. The probationary status placed on them by the Coalition was largely symbolic. Jake Sullivan graduated from his accelerated studies and enrolled in the Space Force Academy. He was offered positions in multiple branches, but chose fleet defense. He wanted to protect others the way he could not protect his friends. The other 13 survivors of New Hope Station each found their own paths forward. Some joined the military. Others became teachers, doctors, and engineers. All carried the weight of survival and the determination to honor those who died. On the first anniversary of the attack, humanity unveiled the New Hope Memorial. It stood on Earth's moon at the exact coordinates where the station once orbited. The memorial consisted of 1,057 individual pillars of light, each representing someone who died. They glowed softly day and night, visible from Earth's surface on clear nights. In the center stood a statue of Dr. Lisa Morgan. She was shown with her arms outstretched, protecting children gathered around her. Her face showed determination and love. The inscription read simple words that carried enormous weight. They were our children. They were murdered by those who thought us weak. We proved them wrong. We remember. We honor. We endure. Captain Cooper, now Admiral Cooper, attended the memorial ceremony. He brought his daughter's drawing and placed it at the base of Dr. Morgan's statue. Thousands of others brought pictures, toys, and flowers. The memorial became covered in remembrances. Commander Hayes, now Captain Hayes, received a new assignment. He would command New Hope Station 2, a rebuilt facility larger and better defended than the original. It would house orphans from across human space and serve as a symbol that humanity does not abandon its children. The new station had defensive weapons, shield generators, and a permanent fleet guard. Nobody would ever attack humanity's children without facing immediate and overwhelming response. Secretary Linda Carter became Defense Minister with expanded authority. Her mandate was clear. Never again would humanity be caught unprepared. Never again would their children be vulnerable. The fleet that had been built in secret was now public knowledge. Shadow Fleet became an official branch of Earth's military, 300 warships dedicated to rapid response and force projection. They trained constantly, ready for any threat. Dr. Samuel Chen continued his weapons research, but now with official funding and support. The technology developed during the war was refined and improved. Humanity pushed the boundaries of what was possible. 5 years after the attack, Jake Sullivan returned to the New Hope Memorial. He was now a lieutenant, commanding a destroyer in Shadow Fleet. His ship was named the ESS Lisa Morgan, in honor of the woman who saved his life. An old veteran approached him at the memorial. The man had fought in the colony wars decades earlier. He looked at the pillars of light in silence for a moment. Was it worth it? The veteran asked. All that destruction, all those lives taken, all the changes we made. Was it worth it? Oh, Jake had been asked that question many times over the years. He thought carefully before answering. They murdered children to prove we were weak. We showed them the truth about humanity. We are not weak. We are dangerous when provoked. We are relentless when protecting our own. But we are also capable of mercy we did not have to show. We could have destroyed their homeworld. We could have killed their civilians. We chose not to, because we are human, not monsters. He paused and looked at the memorial. Is that worth it? The children here never got to make that choice. They died scared and alone. But the children in New Hope Station 2 are safe because of what we did. The galaxy learned that some lines cannot be crossed. Some species cannot be pushed. Ask those kids if it was worth it. Ask the families who have real justice instead of empty words. I think they will say yes. The veteran nodded slowly and walked away. Jake stood alone, looking up at the pillars of light. He thought about his friends who died, about Dr. Morgan and her sacrifice, about the price of vengeance and the cost of justice. Inside New Hope Station 2, children attended classes and played in recreation areas. They learned and dreamed and planned their futures. Captain Hayes walked the corridors, making sure everyone was safe and cared for. One small girl ran up to him. Captain Hayes, will the bad aliens ever come back? He knelt down to her level. No, they will not. We made sure of that. You are safe here. All of you are safe. The girl smiled and ran off to join her friends. Hayes stood and continued his rounds. Outside the station's viewports, Earth hung in space. Destroyers patrolled nearby, watching and protecting. The memorial lights glowed in the distance. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Some wounds demand more than words to heal. Some species, when defending their children, become forces that cannot be stopped. Humanity had joined the Galactic Coalition as peaceful members wanting to cooperate. They still wanted peace and cooperation. But the attack on New Hope Station taught both humanity and the galaxy an important truth. Peace has limits. Patience has breaking points. And when you harm humanity's children, you face consequences beyond measure. 10 years after the attack, New Hope Station 2 thrived. It housed over 2,000 children and had become a symbol of human resilience. The survivors returned each year for the memorial ceremony. They had grown into adults, but they never forgot. Commander Jake Sullivan, now commanding a battlecruiser, stood before the memorial with his crew. They observed a moment of silence for those who died and those who fought to avenge them. In every human colony, every station, every ship, small memorial plaques carried the same message. We remember. We honor. We protect our own. The Galactic Coalition was different now, stronger, more responsive, better able to protect its members. The reforms that followed Earth's actions had made the entire galaxy safer, and in the Krell home system, what remained of their civilization rebuilt under Coalition supervision. They learned to coexist peacefully. They taught their children about the war and its causes. They made sure the lessons were never forgotten. Nobody wanted to repeat that history. Shadow Fleet continued to patrol human space and beyond. Their presence was a reminder and a promise. Humanity would cooperate with the galaxy. They would follow reasonable laws. They would work for peace, but harm their children, threaten their families, and they would show you what human vengeance looks like. The galaxy had seen it once. Nobody wanted to see it again. Earth's orphanage had been destroyed. But from its ashes rose a stronger, more determined humanity. One that the galaxy would never underestimate again. The memorial lights continued to glow. Day after day, year after year. An eternal reminder of what was lost and what humanity became to avenge those losses. The children who died would never be forgotten, and their deaths ensured that no other children would suffer the same fate. That was the promise humanity made. That was the promise they kept.